In my today's lecture, I am going to explain about very important musical terms of ancient Indian music, which are Gram and Jati. Actually, Gram, Murchna and Jati was the terminology of ancient music. Ancient authors Bharat in his Natya Shastra and Sarangdev in his Sangeet Ratnakar have mentioned about grams, shrutis, swars, murchna and jati, etc. Gram and murchna were very important terms or very important bases of ancient jati gayan system. Though these are not the basis for the present rag gayan, yet we cannot ignore their relevance in the ancient Indian music. Grams, which were three, namely Shadaj, Gandhar and Madhyam, formed the basis of the ancient Jati Gayan. So before describing about Jati, we should know what is Gram. The word Gram literally means a village populated by a group of persons, more or less bound together in an atmosphere of kinship. In music, the shrutis, swars and murchna etc. are bound together to a broad framework that may be termed as Gram. Pandit Ahubal, the author of Sangeet Parijat in 17th century, has defined Gram as Ath Gramaste Prokta Swar Sahado Rupin Shadaj Madhyam Gandhar Sangye Bhiste Samanvita. According to this Sanskrit shlok of Sangeet Parijat, the group of swar or notes is called Gram. There are three Grams which are known as Shadaj, Madhyam and Gandhar Gram. It is very evident that Gram was a set of 7 swars or notes of definite pitches based upon the fixed Shruti intervals. And these were the fundamental scales. Let me elaborate this. The 7 swars or notes of Indian musical scale are based upon 22 shrutis. Shrutis are the microtonal intervals of sounds, and our ancient, medieval and the modern music scholars have considered 22 such intervals, amongst which 7 notes of Indian musical scales have been placed. Each swar or note has either 4, 3 or 2 shrutis, totaling of 22 in an octave. Our ancient music scholar Bharat, author of Natya Shastra in 2nd or 3rd century, and Pandit Sarangdev, author of Sangeet Ratnakar in 13th century, have placed each note on its last shruti that were assigned to it. And this was how swars were placed on 22 shrutis. You can see this in a table. Just have a look on this table. Now, coming back to the point, the group of consonant notes which followed a proper placement on shrutis was known as Gram. If any note moved from its assigned place, even if by 1 shruti, the whole Gram was destroyed because the scale was changed and consequently some other Gram was formed. Actually, in ancient period, Shadaj, Gandhar and Madhyam, 3 Grams existed, using Sa, Ga and Ma as their main notes respectively. These 3 Grams were named after their lead notes, Shadaj, Gandhar and Madhyam. That is, Shadaj Gram was led by Shadaj or was started from Shadaj note. Similarly, Gandhar Gram from Gandhar and Madhyam Gram from Madhyam. Gandhar Gram became obsolete in ancient period, and the 2 Grams, Shadaj and Madhyam, were the base of ancient Murchna and Jati Gayan. Let's know in detail about these Grams of ancient Indian music. The first is Shadaj Gram. In the old Sanskrit text, it is mentioned चतुश्चतुश्चैव षडज मध्यम पंचमः द्वय द्वय निषाद गंधारो त्रिस्त्रे ऋषभ धैवतो. According to this Sanskrit shlok of Sangeet Ratnakar by Pandit Sharangdev, the notes Shadaj, Madhyam and Pancham, that is Sa, Ma and Pa, carry 4 shrutis each. Gandhar and Nishad, that is Ga and Ni, carry 2 shrutis each. Whereas Rishabh and Dhevat, that is Re and Dha, carry 3 shrutis each. According to this principle, when the 7 notes Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni are placed on 22 shrutis at the interval of 4-3-2, 4-4-3-2, the Shadajgram is formed. This means in Shadajgram, Sa has 4 shrutis, Re has 3, Ga has 2, Ma has 4 shrutis, Pa 2 has 4 shrutis, while Dha has 3 and Ni has 2 shrutis. Thus, in Shadajgram, the 7 notes of the scale were placed at the interval of 4-3-2, 4-4-3-2 among 22 shrutis, and that too on the last shruti of the shrutis assigned to each swar. According to this, the exact shrutis of each swar or note of Shadajgram have been shown in the table. You can see in Shadajgram, Sa was placed on the 4th shruti, Re on 7th, Ga on 9th, Ma on 13th shruti, and Pa on 17th shruti, Dha on 20th shruti, and Ni was placed on 22nd shruti. If the above mentioned shruti swar placement shifted a little bit, the existing gram was destroyed and some other gram was formed. It is not irrelevant to mention once again that in the ancient period, each swar was placed on the last shruti of its assigned shrutis. You can see in the above table that Sa had 4 shrutis, number 1, 2, 3 and 4. And Sa was placed on the last shruti, that is the 4th shruti. Re had 3 shrutis, number 5, 6 and 7. And Re was placed on the 7th shruti, and so on. In this way, the ancient Shadajgram had the notes of the present Kafi That, having Ga and Ni as Komal Swar or flat notes. Now the next is Madhyam Gram. When the 7 notes of the scale, namely Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha and Ni, were placed on 22 shrutis at the interval of 4-3-2, 4-3-4-2, the Madhyam Gram was formed. This means in Madhyam Gram, Shadaj or Sa had 4 shrutis, Re had 3, Ga had 2, Ma had 4 shrutis, Pa had 3 shrutis, while Dha had 4 and Ni had 2 shrutis. Here I want to clarify once again that in Madhyam Gram, Pa note had 3 shrutis and Dha had 4. Whereas in Shadajgram, Pa note had 4 shrutis and Dha had 3. Or we can say the changing position of Pa and Dha notes of Shadajgram formed Madhyam Gram. In Madhyam Gram, the placement of 7 swars on 22 shrutis can be shown in a table. That is, Sa is on 4th shruti and Re was placed on the 7th shruti, Ga on 9th, Ma on 13th, Pa on 16th shruti, Dha on 20th and Ni on 22nd shruti. In other words, Shadaj and Madhyam Grams can be differentiated only with the placement of Pancham or Pa note, which was placed on 17th shruti in Shadajgram and was lowered by 1 shruti and was placed on 16th shruti in Madhyam Gram. In this way, Dhevat or Dha note, maintaining its previous position, which is on 20th shruti, becomes Chatushrutik in Madhyam Gram, that is having 4 shrutis instead of 3 shrutik which was in Shadajgram, that is having 3 shrutis. the words of Arun Bhattacharya, which he has mentioned in his book, A Treatise on Ancient Hindu Music, that in Madhyam Gram the position of Shrutis has changed. Dhaivat taking 4 and Pancham 3 Shrutis. To summarize the difference between 2 grams, it can also be stated like this, that in Shadaj Gram, Pa was having 4 Shrutis and Dha was having 3 Shrutis, whereas in Madhyam Gram, Pa was having 3 Shrutis and Dha becomes 4 Shruti holder. The difference in the position of Pancham or Pa is the basis of the separate structure of the 2 grams. In Shadaj Gram, Pancham is Shadaj Samvadi. That is, it had 13 Shruti interval from Shadaj and its interval from Madhyam was of 4 Shrutis. So in Shadaj Gram, the consonant pairs of notes are Sapa, Redha, Gani and Masa. On the other hand, Pancham of Madhyam Gram is not Shadaj Samvadi, but it is Rishabh Samvadi, in accordance with the Shadaj Madhyam Bhav. Since the Pancham of Madhyam Gram had 12 Shruti intervals from Shadaj and 3 Shrutis interval from Madhyam, it did not make any consonant interval. This 3 Shrutik Pancham or Pancham having 3 Shrutis of Madhyam Gram could easily obtain consonant relationship with Rishabh. Hence, it was Rishabh Samvadi. The consonant pairs of notes in Madhyam Gram are Sama, Repa, Gadha, Mani and Pasa. Thus, the notes of Shadaj and Madhyam Grams were related to each other by the consonants of 5th and 4th respectively. One more thing can be added, that Shadaj Gram was started from Shadaj and in Madhyam Gram Ma was the keynote, and hence its note were started from Madhyam. The 2 grams differed only in Pancham, having 4 Shrutis in the former and the 3 Shrutis in the later. Thus, Shadaj and Madhyam Grams can be shown in a table. You can see this. Because of the importance of Ma note in Madhyam Gram, it was named as Madhyam Gram. Madhyam Gram was in vogue till medieval period, but it is not in practice nowadays. The next is Gandhar Gram. Gandhar Gram became obsolete in the ancient period. Therefore, not very clear picture of Gandhar Gram is found in the old text. Pandit Ravi Shankar, the great sitar maestro, has mentioned in his book My Music, My Life, the Gandhar Gram based on Ga was said to have been used by celestial beings and had some magical properties. Why it fell out of use in the ancient times is not adequately explained in the texts that are available to us today. Bharat, in his Natya Shastra, and his following scholars only mentioned about this. The mention about this gram is also found in Sangeet Makrand and Sangeet Parijat. According to the available description, in Gandhar Gram, Rishabh or Re was lowered by 1 Shruti and Gandhar or Ga was higher by 1 Shruti. Similarly, Dhaivat or Dha was lowered by 1 Shruti and Nishad was higher. In other words, in Gandhar Gram, Re and Dha notes were 1 Shruti low and Ga and Ni were 1 Shruti high. So the Shruti Swar placement of Gandhar Gram can be shown in a table. You can see this. Sa was placed on 4th Shruti, Re on 6th, Ga on 10th Shruti, Ma on 13th, Pa on 17th, Dha on 19th, and Ni was placed on the 1st Shruti. According to another version, Nishadgram was in vogue in the ancient times, with the Nishad as the keynote. Nishadgram was popular among the Gandharvas. That is why it was named as Gandharvgram, which later came to be known as Gandhargram. The Shrutis were placement of all the 3 grams prevalent in the ancient period can be shown in a table. Just have a look on this table. You can see in this table that Sa is placed on the 4th Shruti, that is on Chandavati Shruti, in all the 3 grams. Re is placed on 7th Shruti in Shadaj and Madhyam gram, whereas it is placed on 6th Shruti in Gandhar gram. Similarly, Ga is placed on 9th Shruti in Shadaj and Madhyam gram and on 10th in Gandhar gram. Ma is placed on 13th Shruti in all the 3 grams. Pa is placed on 17th Shruti in Shadaj and Gandhar gram, and in Madhyam gram it is on 16th Shruti. Dha is placed on 20th Shruti in Shadaj and Madhyam gram, and on 19th Shruti in Gandhar gram. And Ni is placed on 22nd Shruti in Shadaj and Madhyam gram, whereas it is placed on the 1st Shruti in Gandhar gram. So you can notice the difference between the placement of the swars in all the 3 grams. The other term which I am going to explain in today's lecture is Jati or Jati Gayan. In ancient Indian music, a well-knitted system of Gram, Murchna and Jati prevailed. About Gram and Murchna I have elaborated before. Now I am coming over to Jati. Many questions may arise about Jati, like what is Jati, or the definition of Jati, the number of Jatis in the ancient times, the formation of Jatis, the characteristics of Jatis, and above all, why and when Jati Gayan system was replaced by Rag Gayan. Let me explain all these points one by one. The first is definition of Jati. In the literal sense, the word Jati means the class of people. But in music, it carries a different meaning. In the ancient text, Bharat's Natya Shastra, Jati has not been defined clearly. But the description about the characteristics of Jati reveal the concept of Jati of ancient music. According to him, the beautiful or the melodious composition of swars and varans was known as Jati. Acharya Abhinav Gupta, the translator of Bharat's Natya Shastra, has described that the group of notes which pleases the minds of the listeners may be termed as Jati. According to Matang, the author of Brihadeshi in 7th century, Jati is the originator of all the singing forms. Pandit Ravi Shankar, the great sitar maestro, has mentioned in his book My Music, My Life on page 20th. During the middle period of development of our music, very broadly from the 6th century BC to sometimes between the 5th and 7th centuries AD, the prominent musical foundation was the Jati, which served the same function as the Rag does now. That is, the Jati was the basic melody type upon which compositions were constructed, a universal kind of proto-rag from which all the later rags developed. The above said statement of Pandit Ravi Shankar depicts the concept of Jati very clearly. Now coming to the next point, which is about the number of Jatis. We find in our old Sanskrit texts the mention about 3 grams, that is Shadaj, Madhyam and Gandhar. But as stated earlier, only Shadaj and Madhyam grams were in practice even in the ancient period. Jatis were produced from grams. From Shadaj gram, 7 jatis were produced, namely Shadji, Arishbhi, Devati, Nishadi, Shadjodiyavati, Shadaj Keshki and Shadaj Madhyama. From Madhyam gram, 11 jatis were produced, which were Gandhari, Madhyama, Panchmi, Rakta Gandhari, Gandharodeva, Gandhar Panchmi, Madhyamodeva, Andhri, Nandyanti, Kramavati and Keshki. So, in this way, total 18 jatis were produced from 2 grams in ancient Indian music. Another point which is worth mentioning that we find the mention about Shuddha and Vikrit jatis in our old texts. Among the above mentioned 18 jatis, 7 jatis were Shuddha, while 11 were considered as Vikrit jatis. From the 7 jatis of Shadaj gram, 4 were Shuddha and 3 were Vikrit jatis. Similarly, from the 11 jatis of Madhyam gram, 3 jatis were Shuddha and the remaining 8 were Vikrit jatis. Thus, the 7 Shuddha jatis from the 2 grams, 4 of Shadaj gram and 3 of Madhyam gram were named after the names of the 7 notes. For example, Shadji, Arishbhi, Gandhari, Madhyama, Panchmi, Devati and Nishadi. Bharat, the author of Natya Shastra, has mentioned Tat Shuddha Shadaj grame, Shadji Arishbhi sa Devati Nishadvati, Gandhari Madhyama Panchmi, Madhyam grame. Now the question arises, which jatis were Shuddha and how the Vikrit jatis were formed? According to Bharat, Shuddha jati was that which was Sampurna, or which contained all the 7 notes of the octave. The indicating note of Shuddha jati was the Ansh, Gra and Nyaswar of that particular jati. For example, the name of Shuddha Shadji suggests that Shadaj was Ansh, Gra and Nyaswar of that jati, which means Sa was the main note of Shuddha Shadji. Similarly, Re was in Arishbhi, Ga in Gandhari, Ma in Madhyama, Pa in Panchmi, Dha in Devati and Ni was main note in Nishadi jati. When Ansh Swar or the main note was shifted in jati, or jati used to drop 1 or 2 notes and became Shadav or Odav, in that case it was called Vikrit jati. Acharya Brahaspati, the great music scholar of modern period and the author of many valuable books, has confirmed this in his book Bharat Ka Sangeet Siddhant. Thus we can say Vikrit jatis were produced from Shuddha jatis. There is a mention in the old text about Dash Lakshans of jatis, that is 10 characteristics to sing these jatis. Though Jati Gayan system was in vogue in the ancient period, yet its popularity was decreasing during the time of Matang in the 7th century. As the Rag Gayan system started gaining popularity, it became obsolete automatically. When Rag system came into existence, initially even Rags are said to be produced from Murchanas, as the jatis were produced from Murchanas. But with the replacement of Murchanas with males and thereafter Thats, the old system of Gram Murchana and Jati Gayan automatically went off. While concluding Gram and Jati, we can say that these terms were used in the ancient Indian music. there were 3 grams, namely Shadaj, Madhyam and Gandhar. Only Shadaj and Madhyam grams were in vogue, while Gandhar gram became obsolete in the ancient period. In the present music, Madhyam gram too seems to have become unnecessary, according to some scholars, since its functions could very easily have been taken over by Shadajgram, a treatise on the ancient Hindu music. This is quite evident now, as Madhyam gram has become obsolete, and the current practice of singing in Shadajgram having the above Shruti intervals quite justifies the harmonic relationship that was established long ago. Now, all the scales are indeed thought of as modifications or variations of Shadajgram. Jatis were produced from grams. There were 18 jatis from 2 grams. Among 18 jatis, 7 were Shuddh and the remaining 11 were Vikrit jatis. In fact, a well-knitted system of gram, murchna and jati prevailed in the ancient times. But nowadays, gram, murchna and jati system does not carry its old significance because third rag system predominates in the present times in Hindustani music. Thank you.